Welcome, everybody, to the Audible NFL Week 5. Sorry, getting my mic fucking straight. Busy, long, crazy day, but excited for this. Just to put the final thoughts out, so you may still be digesting them. Interesting slate this week. I kind of mentioned that. I don't know if I haven't decided if I'm going to go light or just real core focused and just trust it and roll with it. I don't feel it's a week to get too cute. I think you can make a couple hard stances and then just build and let it go. With me, as always, my counterpart, Tyler Tamboline at Toe Tag and Tambo. Tambo, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I agree with you, man. It's an interesting week for sure. Interesting slate and a lot of different ways you can go, and your ownership tells that story pretty much, right? You see it spread out quite a bit as it normally is at quarterback, but even certain little intricacies that I noticed, like Ryan looks to have got more popular because people are going with the opposite side of that Houston Atlanta game, but it doesn't look like his guys are very popular, like Julio at 10%. I mean, that's really the only one, and the rest are pretty wide open. So interesting to see how the builds will work for cash and for big tournaments, right? So I'm excited for the week. I'm going a little bit different than you. I'm building quite a few lineups. I normally do, but I'm actually expanding that even more this week. I think I'll do 300 instead of 150. Like normally I'll just double them, but I'm going to split them.
So how do you? I can't even fathom building 300 fucking lineups. So how does that, like, when you say that, what does that entail? Like, how do you spread that out?
Basically, what I'm doing this week is a whole new theory that I started last week. I had a little bit of success with it, but I'm looking at it more like baseball. So some of the good guys that in the DFS world that do well in MLB, they space out their stacks, right? Because they want to get as much. You don't know which stack is going to go off, so they want to get as much exposure as they can without going too light. So for quarterbacks, for example, and stacks, I'm looking at it like if I got 150 lineups, I might have 6 or 7 quarterbacks, 6 of them with 20, and then get 3 of them with 10. And then I got 9 quarterbacks, but I'm stacked up 9 different ways, and not like I'm going light because my first 6, I got 20 stacks with them in that tournament that I can blend the running backs around them, blend the value plays around them. So really just experimenting in that way. And I don't know, I feel like it's going to suck if I have the wrong set in the wrong place, but I think it's worth practicing now. It's still only week 5. We got a lot of time left. I've had a pretty good success with it last week. I'm hoping to do one more this week and get up to the top.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask was, that fear of putting the wrong set of 50 in the wrong. I mean, that's just something you just bank into it and roll, say, I'd rather week like this with so many unknowns. I'd rather just now, do you have a preset notion of which kind of stacks you want to play? Like say like in the $9 compared to the milli, I don't know what you're in. I don't really, that's not the purpose. I just mean, do you go, or is it just pure, you build 300 and you split it out, pure luck of which one got in what contest?
Yeah, I got mad FOMO, and this is the first time I've actually ever done this. I never done it this way. I just feel like because it's a week where, you see people in the Slack posting different builds, and buddies of mine, my brother's here on vacation actually, so he's building lineups like a donk, sitting at the table. I'm talking to me about season long and whatnot, and I'm just trying to send him away. But he was showing me some stuff, and it's just funny to see how many different combinations. So for me, I always put a contingency plan in place. So there's like the $9 is one of them that I'm playing again for sure. And I'm going to double that again in the $5 FFWC, the qualifier. But in the $5, the flea flicker, this week it pays like 15 grand for first. It's not huge, but it's a little bit smaller field than the $9. It pays, or it's 150 max still. But I'm worried that, like you said, what if it's the wrong one? So I put it into there's a 50 cent 150 max King of the Beach this week. They normally don't have that, a mini max. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it would take down both. I'll probably fucking get second in the King of the Beach thing and fourth in that one that would have won first in the other, but who knows? But I always put something in backup in play just in case. But I'm sticking with the $9 and the $5 with the same strategy I used last week to double down. So at least I say, look, I stuck with what worked last week, but my second plan, I had it somewhere. And on a week like this, if you win money, I'm happy. That's what I want to do. Just get profitable.
Now, when you do something like this, do you avoid your 1 to 3 max type stuff contests, or do you still throw some in there?
I extrapolated that too. So I went like, I think I got 12 King of the Beach $100 instead of 4 or 8 or whatever it is. Like I went with all of them so I can just mix of my favorite stacks and put them into those, and whatever sort of rates out the best in my mind or what looks the best. And really, this week is a big week for leverage. I know we're going to get into it here, but like, talk about the condensed ownership. Atlanta and Houston. I think everybody in the whole world is talking about Houston, Atlanta. So I mean, yeah, it's still a great game, and you got to go there some. I don't think you want to be left in the dark because obviously it could break out into a massive shootout, and it looks like it will. But there's an easy spot to when you got leverage on that game. There's a lot of different ways you can go. Like you said, you got to be feeling a little bit awkward with your lineups outside of cash games where maybe it doesn't seem right, but that's how you get the win.
Yeah, I mean, if you go there, and we'll talk about it here in a second, you've got to be different somewhere else, or you're just going to have so little chance to hit any kind of good hit because everybody's going to be on it. It seems like, I don't know if this is similar. I haven't been gauging ownership long enough like I have in golf to know if this is that spot where everybody thinks it, and so everybody flips, and then at the end of the day, you could have got good ownership on some of these guys. I don't know. We'll get your opinion on that in a second. Before we get to the live question chat room, did anything pop out to you? We'll just kind of go quickly position by position. Quarterback-wise, for me, obviously – the chalk in that game is pretty evident. I could still argue my normal argument, so like Watson's 14%, that would mean 86 out of 100 people don't have him. It really depends on how you build there. I garnish to go back to Winston. Obviously I like the Saints. I'm on them betting wise, but for him to drop to 4%, I think he's playing well in the Saints secondary. I mean, they can get pressure on him, but they have enough short passing game to get rid of the ball quick. And if he's playing well, I mean, he could have massive upside. I like Rivers at the 2% number, 100% faded on Matt Ryan at 12% on the road. I don't care how big that game. I mean, I'll just take leverage there and not play him. I have come around to Murray. I say that probably every Saturday night. He is a little chalky, at least on this sense, but I don't mind playing him against Cincinnati. I don't know if I can game stack there or not. I mean, they're both not very good teams. So one could say you're going to score a lot, but you could equally just have a whole bunch of shit football as well. So Dak's one I'm interested in, especially if Gallup's full go. I think Green Bay, good D's pressure, but I think it's going to be a competitive game. But I've upgraded Zeke so much, which I'll talk about in a second, that I don't know if that's a good play or not. You could have a good game there, a good 28-27 type game that puts that game into the 50s. Did anything stick out like just crazy from what you thought Wednesday?
Yeah, like even writing it up, like anywhere I looked beforehand, it seemed like everybody was on Dak and Zeke and sort of that combination. The Green Bay Dallas game still has a high total, so people are expecting the points there. So I really like Matt Ryan. What stood out to me the most, I talked to you a little bit before the show on it, was just that, he's showing 12%, but then Julio only shows 10 compared to Hopkins is like 22. So that side of studs is not even being rated up, and he's basically the same guy. If you could fade Hopkins and put Julio in your lineup with them, and then you got Sanu at 2%, you got Hooper at like 8%, and I think Ridley's 2% as well. So, I mean, you can still stack that. I like that side of the stack on the road. I know that it's bad that he's on the road, but I mean, that's one of those things, right? If you want to go against the general public, I think they can still score points in this game. So I like that side of the stack better. I certainly love your call from CoinFlip still. Teddy Bridgewater, that's that game, and as a whole, it looks like it's going overlooked. If the Rams and the other side could just give all that up and Tampa Bay could put all that up. I mean, the Arians offense looks like it's connecting now. We just saw it the last couple of weeks. I think that's a fine game to be stacked up, and all the plays are under-owned there. Kamara's under-owned. Michael Thomas is the only play that's not under-owned in that game. But it's not like Godwin and Evans are through the roof with ownership, and lots of plays in there. So I do like that game. And then you made me think of one more thing. The
only reason Thomas is up there is because his price is 6,600 is fucking ridiculous. He shouldn't be 66. Yeah.
He can fall into that. He can fall into that. Yeah. So yeah, but that's amazing because been doing this a long time, seen this so many times where a value mid-tier priced wide receiver that should be higher priced gets popular, but people are just throwing him into lineups as like the value play. If he's going to have a good day and hit ceiling to win a GPP, likely anyways, you should have the quarterback with them or have him in a game stack with the other side. So, I mean, I love that game for these purposes. Next week, just so you guys know, when I do the stack attack, I'm going to write up one more of what I would see as sort of the sneaky stack. And this may not seem sneaky to you because everyone's talking about it. What it always comes down to, just like in golf, not everybody's clicking the button by the looks of it. If you look at overall ownership, everyone's talking about it, but they either can't find a stack that works. They don't want to play, Jesus Bobo Wilson in their lineup with Winston. You got Godwin and Jesus in the same lineup. So, I mean, if that ain't a calling, I don't know what is. So I'm going to play that stack with Thomas coming back on the other side. But I like that game a lot. The thing I was going to say earlier is you mentioned, it seems like we're on a little bit of the opposite, is you're going to talk about Zeke. And you're talking about that offense and that. And I know that's your boy, so I want to know. But what I read was without their left tackle, Smith, they haven't scored more than 12 points in 4 games sample size, which is small, but it's also large on an NFL scale. And his career, they can't put up points without him. So how is this going to work?
Yeah, and some of that's diluted because I think a portion of that's when Zeke was out, suspended. So that's a double dipper type deal. Yep. It definitely hurts, but Green Bay is not the best against the run.
No, they're not. You're right.
Right. And so that part, I mean, that's what gets me off of. It would hurt me more playing Dak than it would Zeke right out of the gate. I think Dallas. So, and then the other side of it was when he was out before, that was already with the center being out from his issues last year in the early season. So there was an escalator, like a compounding more than just him out. He's obviously their best lineman by far, and the left tackle's most key position. But it wasn't like they were 100% healthy and he was out and it made all the difference. So it's hard to gauge 100%. I definitely think it hurts them. It keeps me from betting them because I actually like them at home. But I can't pull the trigger that much. Now, as far as if I can gain leverage on the field or somewhere, Dak's 6%. I think Gallup is a full go. I haven't read otherwise, but the last few hours I've been working on business stuff. So
it looks like he's good to go. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I got him at 2%. There's a chance that they can hit value. I don't know if I'm going there for sure because I like the Tampa Bay New Orleans game. I actually like, I can't game stack this, but I will pick some pieces out of this is Carolina, Jacksonville. And the Carolina side, I like a lot on some of the ownership, especially with Jalen out. DJ Moore at 1.4%, I'm going to be on him for sure. More than Samuel. And I was on Samuel on Wednesday, but Samuel's showing 12%, I guess just because of the price discount, which is only $700. They're both under 5,200. Mm-hmm. So there's some pieces I like, but I don't mind that. I think they're going to lean on Zeke and Smith is definitely a high rated pass blocker, a good run blocker, but it definitely hurts more. And this will sound funny. It hurts more in the passing game, but one thing it could bring in is hitting Zeke out of the backfield quickly and the tight end more if they think they're going to be hurting over there. So I could upgrade a Witten and a Zeke in this scenario under him being a little bit, like he could chip block off that left side to help out that backup left tackle, then go out to the flat. If Cooper and Gallup can stretch the field, which I think they will be able to, and open up that zone area a little bit more is kind of my thinking if I want to take that risk and go there.
Yeah, I do. I think that you made a great point there. That was one thing I was thinking of is that it may open up that, it's a little bit tougher on the run game, but I mean, you give me Zeke against anybody on a 1-yard run, he's pounding the touchdown in, so that's fine. And then it may actually be the first time Kellen Moore opens up the book for the pass game for Zeke, which would really open up his value there. I would say the most surprising thing for me at running back up was Dalvin Cook's ownership just came right up, like to match Zeke. At the start of the week, it looked like nobody wanted to be on him. Everyone's on the squeaky wheel. It's going to be Cousins to Thielen to Diggs. And now it looks like they're going to be around the same ownership. So there's not really a bunch of leverage by switching over to Cook. So you might as well maybe just take the guy at home in Zeke and take your chances with some of the stuff we just talked about. That to me was interesting.
I mean, the value looks to be in Kamara now, which is 100% a play for me. If I go anywhere of those top 4, my first will be Kamara in the game stack that we talked about. And
even on his own. Wednesday, I mean, not that I don't love him as a one-off, but he's a great. I was just gonna say, he's a great leverage play to that Michael Thomas ownership for the same thing. He just short passes. We know Teddy Bridgewater is a low ADOT guy. Click it over to him. We know that's what Kamara loves the most, and that's the ones he has the best success with, taking him to the house. And if he's gonna be untouched, you can even play him by himself instead of a Zeke if he fits. I like him better in the game stack, to your point. but it's not like he's a slouch on his own. And Tampa's been good against the run, not great against the pass of the pass catching running backs.
Correct. I mean, if Kamara hits value, I think he's going to have 6 catches at least, something like that. They can stop the run, and if your game script and you think a pretty competitive, higher scoring game, then that means throwing and stuff like that. So that opens up Kamara in that situation for sure. I don't mind going there. I'm interested to see where these numbers come in tomorrow, because I can't be the only one that's kind of similar in these deals. And if everybody's seeing this, I can't imagine some guys just going, well, I'll just take the chance and move off into a low ownership, high ceiling type situation and not have to get too cute with playing, CMC and, all the chalk sitting up there with the Houston game, and then throw CMC in and then try to, I'm sure Tate is going to be in there. So far, and I hadn't done this in depth, most of these guys that wind up being late week, cheap 3,000 guys, especially wide receivers, have almost pretty much busted. So if he's going to be 22% at 3,500, do you just plug it and go, now we're playing the 8-man roster, or do you try to fade it in the sense that I talked about this last week? It makes you build differently than everybody else will be building automatically by not having him in there.
Yeah, there's just too many ways to get there, too many lineup constructions. He's a lock in cash because he was already getting the role with Ross there. I even saw stats that show that he's getting more of those. If you're going to say tight ends beat up on Arizona, he runs more routes that they get beat up on than even Eifert does. So, for 3,500, he's a free square for something where you can get like 6 for 50 and 0 touchdowns. And that's great in cash for 3,500, but he's not someone I'm setting up in my GPP lineups to try and set it through the roof. He'll make a small portion, but I'll be way underweight. It's really tough to win a GPP with a high chalk wide receiver, even more so with like a $3,500. And this isn't like Nelson Aguilar, who's established with Wentz a couple weeks ago there and who had all these injuries with Alshon and Deshaun and all these situations. This is way different than that, in my opinion. And I'm only going to use him in cash and a little bit here and there if he fits a GPP lineup in a game stack or something.
Well, even more than that, don't forget it's still the Bengals with not a very good offensive line overall. And if Arizona's good at anything, they could maybe get a little bit of pressure. And so it's not like, totally different than a Wentz who's, that offense can be high power when flowing. I don't know. Am I 1 to 3 lineup build? I may have one if something pops for me, but, especially if I do try to get a contrarian build around it elsewhere in that game, but I'm not reaching to try to do that. Is Eifert a no-go at being that theme you just talked about, being Arizona? He's second, third highest percentage owned, 3,300. Is he?
He's a next to last in cash. In your words, not in GPPs. Again, there's just way too many options. There's no point. Like I said, I'm scared of it anyway. And the only thing in cash is that you can do what's a little bit, I don't know, not everyone does it, but you got to evaluate it in your head as like a combo pack. The two of them, what if one of them goes for 6 and 70 and a touchdown and the other gets a 0? Yeah, you might have got different builds that could have got there, but if that build fits you all the other points in there, then you got to look at it as like, well, they did their job for 6,800. It's a little bit different or unique way of looking at it, but quite a few guys do it in NBA and in a lot of different sports where you're looking at it as a combo play.
Yeah, and I'd take, OJ Howard at 0.5% ownership, gaining that leverage. I would take that all day, to take the upside. If he has his go off game more, and I'm paying $600 more type deal, and it automatically. Now, one chalk I still may go to, and I liked him on Wednesday, and I haven't really moved off of him, is the Titans D, especially with Barkley starting. There's a couple other ones I could see myself going to. The Panthers was one, but they look to be pretty high owned. I like the Patriots more when it was going to be Haskins as opposed to McCoy. So any thoughts there overall before we get into questions?
I'm just double checking it, but I thought, So 9 hours ago, Josh Allen's actually expected to play.
Oh, so, is he now?
Yeah, okay. He's at a concussion protocol. I did see that. I just wondered. I saw a couple different articles on it. So I still don't mind it. Like, it's not like Josh Allen can't make mistakes. The guy's made plenty. He throws picks. He gets a little crazy on the run. They're on the road. Like, I have no problem with it whatsoever. I like it. I like Arizona, who we talked about, who I think is going to go extremely underowned. I think even Cincy, talk about, not saying they have a good D or anything like that, but Kyler, we always talked about this, how, and same with Carolina is the same type of situation. It's not that these quarterbacks are just bad, but they can make mistakes. Atlanta against Houston, because Houston has that O-line and Watson hanging onto the ball. When you're on like an Atlanta or a Cincy, you're sort of leveraging what everybody else in the field is on. Everyone's got these Arizona guys and Kyler, and same with Arizona D. You're leveraging, everyone's got Dalton. And then what happens when Dalton throws 3 picks and everyone's pissed off that their offense didn't hit, your defense hit, and the rest of your lineup's obviously different. So there's how you get your leverage on the field. So I like a lot of those ones, a lot of cheapies. I'm spreading it out amongst, 8 to 10 defenses. And biggest, one I want to ask you about was the Patriots. What was your take on the big cost Patriots?
Yeah, I mean, that was the deal. I liked it more as Haskins. They're the highest projected with the Titans and Panthers right there. I mean, Colts is not great, but he's played enough that they may be able to try to, control the clock. They got to be smart, but if he gets in a place where he's pressing it, obviously the biggest worry there is a bunch of sack fumbles, stuff like that. I mean, 4,300 is not, horribly priced if you get different everywhere else and just plug that. I plugged that in. What was it, week 2 when they made the 34? I had him in there because the same scenario is I was so different everywhere else. I was like, I can play the chalky defense. It's not costing me a ton and just move on, because I didn't play the chalk 3,800 wide receiver or whatever it was. And so I just said, I'm fine with them. They could win this game 30-3 easily.
Yeah, I'm actually, that's why I asked you, and you're speaking my language, because this is different. Like, okay, the 37-point game skews their total, but they're averaging over 20 over 4 games. And I know they got cake matchups, but it's not like this one got any harder. This is an easy matchup for them. They're in a great spot. If you could tell me I can find if you told me Auden Tate at 3,500 was going to average 18 points for 4 games, then I'm plugging him in no problem, whether he's chalk or not. They're not going to be chalky enough. They might be 15% or less. I know that normally doesn't hit, but I'm saying it's like you're getting a $4,300 player that's basically going to get you 20 points, and they have a backup quarterback. Literally everything's in their favor. The one game skews it, but all the others still average over 20. So I'm still going there for me.
Yeah, last thing, and we'll knock out 10, 15 minutes of questions, was I've moved Ingram into playing him because, if you want to play the Patriots D and 2 tight ends this week, well, now you saved on you kind of, Ingram to me at 8% ownership is attractive to me, where, I thought he was going to be chalkier than that. He's $800 more than Waller, but half the ownership. So that's a potential for me. Just to, especially if you're out there and you just, I'm going to play the chalk Houston game. You can do things like that'll set you differently. 2 tight ends with the Patriots is not going to be a common build with the Houston game. So there are ways to make yourself a little bit different if you just can't get off of the chalk stack. Agree or disagree?
Agree fully. And I like Ingram. I don't mind that at all, especially if you're going to run some of those cousin stacks, or you can have a mini stack with Cook and Ingram and be different in that sense. And then a couple other guys that stand out at the tight end position. Greg Olsen, you mentioned you like pieces of that offense earlier. He's a guy that stands out at almost no ownership as a safety valve. We've seen it already with Kyle Allen. So for just $4,000, I think he's got some decent run. And then OJ Howard, who you already talked about, that's that game stack, man. Like Kamara and him, you can put whatever defense you want with just those 2 alone, because not many people are putting those 2, right? People are going with these other running backs, and people are going with these other tight ends. So those are a couple that stood out for me beyond the mains. Not as high on Waller as the others, as the rest of them, or Andrews, really, for that matter. But do like Ingram, using some Hooper in those stacks to be different, but I'm doing like some Ridley Hoopers and some Sanu Hoopers and fading the Julio ownership, even though it turns out it's only around 10%. So you can still mix it up that way as well.
Yep. Now that we've deep talked to all that, these are going to be rapid fire type answers, not going to go in depth because we kind of covered about everything there. Then with obviously my final thoughts, Tambell's articles, the rest of them, you can go in depth if you want. We talked about, Auden Tate, is he the best value wide receiver? He's the best value dollar wise. Yes. That's a no question, but I think you could get just as much potential upside and be a little bit different this week. Sanu at 3% for 4,200. I'd play over the 21% Tate. You?
I'm not going to be, like I said, I'm not going to be over. I think he's the best value. You nailed it, but I'm not going to be overweight on him. That's for sure.
if running Ertz out there, is it crazy to consider two tight ends? He's potentially a good number one wide receiver, 6K. We just hit on that. So I say yes, absolutely. I think you can go Ertz and Hooper or something like that, and already be a little different than most. I think you agree with that. Yep.
Definitely.
Do you like Rivers, Allen stack? And if so, would you throw anyone from Denver in it to make it a game stack like Lindsay? I absolutely do. Mentioned Rivers in the final thoughts. It was abbreviated tonight, but I've spent about the last 12 hours working on some business stuff. So I'm a little behind on research. Did get all the ownership out there for everybody, so you can go check that out. I updated all my rankings. So all that's up there, but I didn't get as much in-depth writing. I will be in Slack later if I get some time. I'm going to try to have a little bit of a family night tonight. I've been pretty busy the last several weeks, but I love that Rivers call. My only fear there is you got the two running back system back now. If they pull away and they have to pull the chains off, they're at home. I could see a way where they win the game like 28-10 and Rivers really doesn't do much, but I could see 35 points and he does, really well at 2% ownership. What about you?
I like him. I like Sutton and Sanders as well. Lindsey and Freeman kind of been chopping it up. If you look at their numbers, they're literally almost exact, even for touches, targets, routes, everything. Like it's so close that it's like a main RBBC, but it's 50-50 pretty much. So don't mind them. I don't even mind adding other guys. I actually think we didn't talk about this, but I think Eckler still is a solid value play just based on the price drop and the assumption that Gordon just takes everything over. I mean, yeah, you could vulture a touchdown. They could try and get him back in, get him a little bit fresh. But, Anthony Lynn already talked about it. We're going to play Eckler a lot. And I talked about this even before Gordon got back when we were talking about it last week. I believe they're still going to run them both on the field at the same time. Eckler's too good to not have out there. Eckler actually costs less than Justin Jackson for them, who's not even playing and injured. He's his backup's backup. And Eckler is just a free guy to run out for them, and they're getting plenty of run from him. He's playing hard. They're still going to reward this guy. I like Eckler in that stack as well with Allen. And I don't mind a sneaky Mike Williams who's back from injury and says he's good to go. His back's fine. So we'll see what that looks like. But I think Allen's got the tougher matchup with Chris Harris Jr.
I got to learn to keep Tambo down a little bit. He likes to just go, and we'll be here all night.
Yeah,
I love the insight though. But Eckler, I can't. My deal with him is a 6-700. I think that makes it tough for him. It is a. I think my 13.5% is high because I don't think the market's adjusted enough. I could see him and Gordon being a little bit closer. If that's how the ownership works out, I play Gordon all day for $300 more at a third of the ownership. But I think that's a gut feel for you to digest personally. I do like Mike Williams. I mentioned that in the article. I think you could go, Rivers, Allen, Williams, and run it back with Lindsey or something like that, or even Sanders, who I liked as well, or Sutton, and have a very unique game stack and hope that thing just breaks open. Because if it does, you're going to be, it's Katie bar the door. There's no one that's going to be stacking that game hardly. So you have a massive upside. Consider the Houston-Atlanta game. A stack and a 3-max that includes Julio Hopkins, but it's tough to jam in two stud running backs. I feel having two stud running backs in your lineup is optimal route this week. Agree or disagree? We just talked about it a little bit at the top. I don't know. I mean, in a 3-max, if you do the Houston-Atlanta stack, I don't know if you can squeeze two stud running backs. That'll be a way to be different. I think you can make yourself different elsewhere. Some of the things we mentioned, two tight ends, a different defense. I think there's some value at running back, not a ton, but, Gallman's going to be the guy again. Barkley's out. We just talked about Phillip Lindsay. Gordon has huge upside. If he breaks one, he has that potential at 4%. I don't think you have to jam two of the top studs up there. What do you think?
I think most people are jamming top two. So if you want to differentiate, you can. But yeah, with an Atlanta-Houston stack like that, you're trying to get there with that. You're going to have the Ryan side for sure. You're going to have like the Sanu or even like the Ridley or like a Sanu Ridley or something in Hooper or like some combination of that, and then run it back with like the Fuller, and that's what you're going to get if you're trying to get there. But you're going to be missing Julio, you're going to be missing Hopkins, you're going to be missing Freeman's, all these other guys that can help you there. So it's going to be tough, but I don't mind it. I think there's enough mid-value running backs to still run a comfortable Atlanta-Houston and differentiate enough or leave a couple $100 on the table with a couple of these unique running backs. And you got Gups ownership right here that you can go off of and find who's going to be a little bit lower.
Yeah. With Gabriel out, thoughts on Javon Wims as a cheap wide receiver? I don't like it because I just seen that's more of the scenario I talked about earlier over Tate, where I mean this guy hasn't done hardly anything yet, and it's a London game. Who knows how that thing's going to work out. And I think there's better value. I think there is some value in that game if you want to go there, but I don't think you have to get tricky with that type of play yourself.
Yeah, backup quarterback, London game, whatever you want to call it. No real history for Wims or anything. I play Tate over him for sure if you put a gun to my head. And the guy I do like in that game for value would be Cohen, because again, backup quarterback on in London, needs some checkdowns, whatever. Let Cohen run loose with it. I think everyone's on Montgomery. I like Cohen. PBR site, DraftKings.
I do. I agree with that as well. Don't like Cohen on FanDuel as much, but I definitely on DraftKings for sure. Any sneaky high scoring games you guys got? I think we kind of outside of the norm. Like I mean, the Vikings game. I mean, both those, the Saints game and the Vikings game, I think could produce solid fantasy value if you hope that Houston Atlanta game turns into like a 19-14 kind of terrible showing, which it has potential to do. Don't think that game is an auto, 31-28. Now it has equal potential to do both. Don't get me wrong, but I think there are some games that could be potential high scoring, and those are two of them I like: the Saints game and the Vikings game. Yourself?
Mine was going to be mini Vikings. We already talked about the Saints one in depth, but I think you hit the nail on the head with mini and the Giants. That could easily be a shootout game where you just didn't expect it and they just go off, right? And the pace gets up there real quick in the early going. Then you got a good game on your hands that nobody's on.
Think about playing Wentz as a naked quarterback. What are your thoughts?
Naked. If you're thinking about playing Wentz, I'm more interested, but he can get there. He's sort of like a Tom Brady-ish maybe for – what's Brady's price again? Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know. As naked, I would probably play Brady naked before I would play Wentz. Like, it seems like we're going to know who Wentz is going to, but I also think they can run the ball a lot more than they need to throw. I think the Pats still pass the ball a ton, and no one's talking about Tom Brady, but you'll never know who he's going to throw to. You could use Brady as naked, but I probably would leave Wentz in the stacks myself.
Yeah, and I love Sanders this week. I think he's on the verge of a breakout week at some point. And versus the Jets, this could be it. And that could be a great stack. That very mini stack to go Wentz. You go Wentz, Ertz, Sanders, and that's not
nobody got
too chalk. Yeah, nobody's got it, and not get. I think the Wentz call is good, but you don't have to get too cute there. I don't know what that means. I've been leaning to. Yep. Would you play Lamar? Oh, who would you play with Lamar? Hollywood, Andrews? What? I mean, that's your team. It's just tough because historically that game is so low scoring, grinded out, pounded, turnover potential, 21-20 type deal. I could play a Lamar naked and hope for the potential upside running type deal, but I could see a stack with Brown. Brown could get loose in that secondary for sure. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like him with Brown because I'm pretty sure Brown failed some people last week, and the other MB, Miles Boykin, got in the end zone instead of Marquise Brown. So I'll go back to that. And yeah, there's the guy you play naked, Lamar, and just let him do whatever he wants. You never know who he's going to throw to, and he could just run it in. He could run for 80 yards, whatever. Love that play naked for sure.
Yep. Wrapping up on time limit is I don't see many questions coming in. Anything else? We covered a lot there, especially at the first. I think it was really good. Anything final thoughts-wise that sticks out to you before we go away and enjoy our Saturday evening?
No, I talked enough. I'm good. I let the world know everything. But I'm here if you guys need me for anything, of course. But love talking about it. That's why, and hopefully the insight helps everybody.
Yeah, I'll be in later for sure. I'm going to take the next few hours and take a break and kind of decompress from everything this week. I think overall, there's spots to be unique while still having chalk this week. It's a not overthink it week for me and not get too cute. I say that most weeks, but this one I think you can. There's some pretty good plays, and I don't think you have to get around it too often. I try to limit down your selection on whatever. If you're depending on how many lineups you're building, of course. If you're building 50, 75, 100, you got to get all over, but. If you're in that 10 or less type lineup build, I would focus on the spots you want to hit and spend time being creative with those spots instead of getting so far exposed that you get down to Sunday and you really don't have much leverage over anywhere. You can outthink yourself there is what I mean. That's what I'm doing this week. I'm going very tight, 1 to 3 lineups, probably may do the 5 max $33 because I always kind of do that one just for fun, but keeping it kind of where I think the games are going to go. And I think I have a pretty good exposure leverage on the spots I'm going to be in, and just hope it plays out. Sometimes that's all you got to do. Definitely a great week this week. I think golf, we have a lot of guys got some sweat, very difficult tournament once again. The T65 did not kill anybody for once, as far as would have had the same cut no matter what. So that's something we don't have to regurgitate again. I'll have some info out tonight on Showdown. I know Kenny Kim hops in there as well as Tambo. I think there's some spots tomorrow you can expose and get some leverage if you want to go round 4. If not, I'll be in tomorrow morning as well. I know Tambo jumps in there as best he can. Obviously, we have to take time to do our final building. But
I should say quick, if you guys want to hit me up tonight, I'll get to the questions tonight because it's easier for me. I got some family in town, but I'll be able to hit them up late. And it's really tough for me. I know some guys hit me up in the morning, but especially now managing all these lineups, there's a lot to do on Sunday morning. It's not that I don't want to be in there with you. I try my best, right? I answer things on the fly, Twitter DMs. I try and do everything I can for you, but can't always get back to them on Sunday mornings. I do apologize.
Yep. And don't forget Super Draft Overlay. I know I'm going to throw in there. I'm going to put 50 in it. I'll probably build those out tonight and load them in. Use the code GUP. Get $10 with your $10 deposit. That gives you $20 as your first entry, basically for free. If you're a new member, you can try out. You'll get a code to try us out for a week. If you're a current member, you'll get $10 merchandise credit. Which next Wednesday night we have some exciting news related to that. Looking forward to it. For JB behind the mic, Tambo, and the whole Gups Corner crew, we will see you Monday night for the Smash Factor at 7:30 Eastern. Have a good night and good luck tomorrow.